Have you ever tried venturing into a new path and some authorities, some orgas at the top, told you to discontinue the process? I'm sure you felt disappointed, and this is how some of President Muhammadu Buhari's cabinet members felt when they were told to either pick their current job or their political ambition in the 2023 general elections. Well, disappointing because some claim they have the support of their constituents to run. But on the flip side, based on their records as ministers, are they qualified to run for new offices? I will be discussing that in this video. Welcome to Premium Times on the Go. I am Timipre Sylva. Hey, quick one. I'm sure some of you have heard of James Buhari and the over 4.2 million euros that was stolen by him. But for you, do you think paying ransom is a viable means to end insecurity? Since President Buhari gave the directive of continue your job or resign, 5 ministers have resigned and 4 have resumed their jobs. His directive is on the backdrop of the Electoral Act signed by him, with focus on Section 84(12), which reads, "No political appointee at any level shall be a voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party for the purpose of the nomination of candidates for any election." Now, let's look into their records as ministers. Rashmi Amichi, the now resigned Minister of Transportation, declared his interest to run in the 2023 presidential election in April. While he has been hailed by many for the transformation in the country's rail sector, however, his campaign is coming at a time when several persons were abducted by bandits on the ill-fated Abuja-Kaduna train, and they are still in captivity. Mr. Amichi initially blamed his colleagues in the Federal Executive Council for rejecting a 3 billion naira surveillance project. However, a leaked memo of their meeting indicated red flags. One of them was that Amichi was unable to justify the nomination of the main supplier of the equipment. With his resignation, he will be leaving the burden to anyone who is taking over him, which is likely the Minister of State for Transportation, Gbemisola Saraki. Also, Premium Times had in a report detailed how Mr. Amichi is a serial violator of Nigeria's procurement law and other processes. Godzilla Kwabio, the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, submitted his resignation letter shortly after the FEC meeting on Wednesday, but his tenure as minister is dogged by financial scandals at the Niger Delta Development Commission, which was investigated by the National Assembly in 2019. During the investigation, Mr. Kwabio was indicted by John Ngige, a former managing director of NDDC, of pressurizing her to abuse processes and engage in financial recklessness. Ogbonnaya Onu, the Minister of Science and Technology, also resigned his position to run for the presidential race after serving as minister for about 7 years. His tenure has been about promises with little achieved. He also promised to close all technological gaps, to advance national development, commercialize science and technology ideas, get a monetary incentive of 1 billion naira, 500 million naira, and 200 million naira for research purposes to the 3 top agencies, and use nuclear technology for power production. None of these have been achieved. Ngige, the Minister of Labour and Employment, withdrew from the presidential race after this directive. On his record with over 33% unemployment rate, university and polytechnic lecturers have embarked on a series of strikes, keeping Nigerian students at home for months. A group, Project Nigeria, reportedly procured the expression of interest and nomination forms for the Minister of State for Education, Chukwuemeka Nwajuba, to contest for the presidential ticket of the APC. Mr. Nwajuba was later presented with the form and he accepted to join the race. He was the first to resign from the cabinet. For many on social media, the idea that the minister is running at a time when Nigerian students are at home as a result of the strike issued by Nigerian lecturers is morally wrong. Timipre Sylva, the Minister of State Petroleum Resources, joined the presidential race but backed down after Buhari's directive. Like some of his other colleagues, Mr. Sylva has several unanswered questions in the petroleum sector. There have been recurring queues at filling stations due to fuel scarcity. 3 years after his appointment, the 4 state-owned refineries remained comatose after billions of naira were spent on turnaround maintenance. Scarcity of jet A1 fuel has also crippled the aviation sector, in addition to oil theft and an increase in illegal refineries in the Niger Delta, with damaging effects on the environment. Uchechukwu Oga, the Minister of State, Mines and Steel Development, announced his governorship bid in Abia State in April and has resigned from the cabinet. Not much was recorded about Mr. Oga at the ministry or the federal cabinet. Bakar Malami, Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, was seeking to become the governor of Kebbi State before the presidential directive. In the past 7 years as the Attorney General, Mr. Malami was almost at one scandal per month level, from suspicious 159 billion naira judgment debt to the involvement in the illegal search warrant on Supreme Court Justice Mary Odili's house, so he is indicted by the Asset Recovery Committee of the House of Representatives. The list is quite long. Pauline Tallan, the Minister of Women Affairs, was vying for Plateau South senatorial seat in the 2023 general elections but has now withdrawn. Before I continue, here are 3 top news that occurred during the week. An explosion occurred in Sabongari, Kano State, leaving several dead. Deborah Samuel, who was accused of blasphemy against Muhammad, a Muslim prophet, and reportedly stoned and burnt to death, was buried this week. More protests led by students against ASU strike have occurred in the southwest region. Moving on, do you support President Buhari's directive on his ministers? What happens to their 100 million naira or their presidential or governorship nomination forms? And what happens to the hopes and the aspirations of their constituents? I would love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments section. This is Premium Times on the Go. I am Timipre Sylva.